Rays heats up at Fenway Park this week. Luke Jones will be on the scene as well at Oriole Park as the Orioles return home this weekend. But it is a Purple Kingdom here this week, and we're talking all things 1-0. Nice start for the Ravens. On to Cleveland this week, the woeful Cleveland Browns. She covers all things Ravens at BaltimoreRavens.com, as well as appearing from time to time on Unscripted, but never late for work, but always writing late for work. She is Sarah Ellison. You can follow her work at Ravens.com as well as at SG Ellison. That's 2 L's, which I hope the Ravens don't have 2 L's for quite some time, Sarah. Nice start for the season. I mean, not the greatest effort, but I will take the victory, and more than that, I will take the building blocks that we saw on Sunday.
Oh, for sure. I mean, listen, when you put this in context of what happened last season and the Ravens off season trying to put together a strategy, and I mean, there's like a third of a roster turnover. Everything that they've done to get that bad taste out of their mouth from last season, that was it. And they may have not done it pretty, and a couple of players even said that it was ugly. But that was the type of game that they would have lost last year. The exact type of game where it's close at the end, they let a team hang around, and then they lose it. But this time, the defense made a critical stop. Terrell Suggs got that sack on third down, and the offense converted 2 first downs to milk the clock. That was something you didn't see last year. And like you said, there were lots of other good signs. So it was just a big win in terms of turning the page from last season.
For the offense and worrying about Flacco, I didn't like that he got hit as much as he got hit. It didn't look to me like he was in any hurry to go running around either. But he really showed some courage to stand in there. I think everyone, their heart, beats 2 skips when he gets banged. And he got shoved around a little bit. Didn't look any worse for the wear after the game.
It's like Coach Harbaugh said, Joe Flacco is as tough as a $2 steak. But like you said, the bad thing is you don't really want to test that. You don't want to see your quarterback knocked around as much as he was. I agree. I mean, Flacco has never really been a mobile quarterback, but he's been deceptively mobile. Like he's been able to move around in the pocket and kind of get out of things, and it didn't seem like he did that as much, but the offensive line didn't do him too many favors. And I just think that whole unit, I mean, you think about it, they still need to gel. The whole offensive unit. Steve Smith hasn't played. Perriman essentially hasn't played. Pitta didn't play. You got all these guys coming back, and then you got 2 rookies on the left side. So you got to account for that. Jeremy Zuta didn't have the best game. So the offense definitely showed flashes of that potential with Perriman and Wallace and Pitta also. But that group clearly needs some time to come together still.
Well, I mean, there was confusion, and I don't know how there could not be confusion, right? I mean, when you look at the names here, Pitta was around, but then he wasn't around for a month. Certainly couldn't catch a ball with the hand situation. I mean, Perriman hasn't been around much at all, certainly not working within the confines of the offense. And Steve Smith, as a veteran guy would be, hey, I'll be fine when the time comes, but lining up, getting guys set, cadence, all of that looked to be a work in progress. The good news is all those guys are veteran guys. They all know what they're doing. I'm sure that will be a massive, topic of conversation around the building this week is let's not be sloppy. Let's know where we're supposed to line up because there are less excuses the more the offense works together.
Absolutely, and I think Flacco was the first to say that yesterday. I mean, and so is Harbaugh. The passing game needs to get together. It is tough because, like you said, sometimes you look at somebody like Steve Smith and you're like, he's a veteran, but even a veteran needs to knock off some rust when you're coming off an Achilles tear. I just think that things like snapping the ball too early is fixable. The
Sure.
only turnover of the day. Those types, like you're not going to see Marshall Yanda getting 2 penalties per game. So those are all things that I'm confident, and I think they're confident. While it's going to be a huge emphasis, I think they're confident that they can fix it.
I think we spent most of the offseason saying who's going to catch the ball. I would have put incredibly long odds, and I love me some Dennis Pitta, but I would have put long odds on the fact that he would be the number 2 receiver in the opening game, that he would be on the field that much, that he would be that involved in the offense. If you would have said 2 weeks ago that would have been the case, I think we would have called it a long shot before the Watson injury. But look at how how this thing has worked out for him, for Steve Smith to get back on the field, and of course Wallace, who the much maligned guy that's now 2 franchises removed from the Pittsburgh Steelers and that level, being the difference maker in catching that pass and opening the offense up.
I mean, it is incredible. Incredible is the word, the story that Dennis Pitta has, especially if he can continue it throughout the season. You know, it's funny, Nestor, I had a BYU alumni party Friday night. So both Dennis Pitta and Bronson Kafusi was there. Kafusi is nursing that ankle. But I talked to Pitta, and I was like, you know what? Congratulations. Congratulations, because this has been a long time coming. People thought his career was over. And then he went out and he was the starting tight end. And granted, that happened in part because Watson is out for the season. But look at the work he's put in. And then he went out there in his first game since September 21st, 2014. And like you said, he made a difference-making 27-yard catch that leads to a field goal and puts the Ravens a little bit more out of reach. You can't say enough about him going against all odds and coming back. And I swear it's like riding a bike for him. He and Joe Flacco just have chemistry, and they haven't even had a chance to work on it in 2 years. So it's really an incredible story.
Yeah, just like old times, I would say. Sarah Ellison joining us here. She is SG Ellison, and of course, out on Twitter, and you can follow her at Ravens.com. Many do. And I try not to be late for work, but I always try to read her work as well. And, for Tyrod Taylor to come back in under these circumstances, obviously Rex Ryan, Corey Graham, Ed Reed, James Trapp, I saw all those guys after the game down on the field. But Tyrod specifically with one chance to come back and have the kind of game that he wanted to have. That clearly did not happen. Their offensive line looked pretty leaky. It looks to me like he doesn't want to run either, that he needs to be more of a pocket quarterback. And I know the Ravens defense, that was the whole goal, was to keep him in the pocket and make him try to throw the football. But I thought the offensive line was kind of leaky, and I thought, as Luke wrote and as we've talked about all week here, the Ravens were pretty fast on defense. They really moved to the ball a lot quicker than we're used to seeing, and that's what you need to neutralize a Tyrod Taylor, is having 4 or 5 guys in the front 7 that could actually catch him.
Yeah, I got to say, I thought Tyrod was going to get more than that. I thought that the Ravens were going to have to settle with the idea that he was going to break a couple, and he did on that one. I give him props. McClellan had him wrapped up for a sack. Somehow he spun out of it and then threw, I think it was, a 33-yard pass that eventually in the drive ended in a touchdown. But other than that, there really wasn't much. He didn't attempt deep passes with Sammy Watkins. That's a credit to Jimmy Smith. And like you said, it's a testament of how much faster the Ravens got. I think a lot of people were surprised when the Ravens cut Darryl Smith. And he was great for the Ravens. He was great for years. But the Ravens wanted to get faster, and Zachary Orr was a great example of that. He helped make that defense faster. And then how about Sharice Wright coming in there, kind of, sealing those edges and 11 tackles, 3 for loss. It was just a faster defense overall. And I was impressed. I mean, it's not like Tyrod Taylor is this, offensive juggernaut or whatever, but he's a good quarterback, and the Ravens kept him contained for a majority of the day.
Nice to see the wake-up for Jernigan as well, and I've not seen anyone that excited about a sack since maybe like Mark Gastineau. But I love, hey man, that was a great dance by Timmy Jernigan.
He's got it going on. Suggs is pretty happy when he got his. I loved the fire from the beginning. The fire of the defense was contagious. The entire stadium was on fire from that opening defensive series. It was great to see Timmy and everybody amped up.
Nice to get out of the game relatively healthy, and here come the Cleveland Browns. And I know John's going to be saying all the right things about the respect for Hugh Jackson and RG3 and the offense, and his shoulders messed up. But boy, the Browns, they're not going to win a lot of games. You just got to make sure that you're not one of the few victims that might be on the dance card for them this year.
Here's what's interesting. So the Browns, so the Bills scored the least amount of points so far in week 1 out of anybody in the league. Number 2 behind them are the Browns, obviously, who the Ravens face this coming Sunday. So that gives you confidence. Here's what's interesting. I got to ask you this. RG3 is already banged up. He says he's going to play. But the Ravens are probably going to have to prepare for 2 quarterbacks, RG3 and McCown. Well, the Ravens lost to McCown last year. Who would you rather face, RG3 or McCown?
Oh, I'm indifferent if the defense is going to flow to the ball, and I guess that's a Dean Pease answer to say, whoever they put in there will be ready for them, and I'm sure they will be.
Right.
I don't know that there's any version. I looked at this Browns roster. I had one of the Cleveland media people on last week, and we'll be visiting with them, of course, all week. I'm going to ask them a pretty succinct question. I mean, what game are they going to win? What games are they going to win? At what point do they walk on the field and have the right amount of talent? I mean, I go back to the Buffalo game on Sunday. I just don't see a lot of talent on that team. I see a team that's missing their best defensive player, their highest paid defensive player, missing their first-round draft pick, their second-round draft pick. That Rex really felt like he had starting football players there. They're playing without their left tackle. When you start losing players, as we learned here last year, playing at the end of the year without Flacco, without Suggs, without Smith, without half the team, quite frankly, and the rest of the team's banged up, I would hate to see what this Browns team's going to look like if they start losing some of the players they actually have. I think they're lacking talent. I think it's going to be a heck of a rebuild there for Hugh Jackson, and I love that the Ravens could be 2-0 this time next week. I'm looking forward to that. I think the schedule's been very, very friendly to the Ravens this year in a way it was very unkind last year.
Yeah, that's the way the NFL loves it, right? I mean, they want teams that were below 8-8 to get back up there, and the teams that were above it, they want to bring them down. So the Ravens had a tough schedule coming off of a divisional win the year before, and then the Ravens go 5-11. So they have on paper, a much more favorable schedule than they have in the past. And it's, you know what? It's funny. I went out doing late for work this morning, and I went to go see if any national websites were really talking about the Ravens. There really wasn't that much chatter. And you know what? I think they're going to be under the radar for the next couple weeks, and I think that's okay because I think they still have kinks to work out, so it might be a good thing, but they're just not getting too much national love. They're going to be under the radar, and I do think that's a good thing while they work everything out.
Well, and part of this is Cleveland and Jacksonville, and wins over Cleveland and Jacksonville, I think that's what you're supposed to do, right? So even if they're 3-0 going into week 4, the story will be, well, look at who they beat. I mean, until they start beating playoff caliber teams, and they'll see Oakland. I mean, I think highly of Jacksonville, and they put up a pretty valiant effort against Green Bay at home on Sunday, but they still are 0-1. Obviously, Cleveland is what they are. I don't know that the Ravens are going to be able to really prove much until they get into a more meatier side of the schedule in dispatching of these teams that are thought to be not playoff teams. But I like the Ravens' effort on Sunday. I like the fact that they have receivers. I like the fact that the defense is flying to the ball. I like Eric Weddle at this point. You know what I really like that I haven't talked to you about is the kicking part of this. And I know the Justin Tucker thing created some drama before he was signed earlier this summer. And, he's on all the television commercials and all that stuff. But when the ball gets put down and the game's on the line and there's a 50-yard field goal to make, he makes them. He made one that John pulled off the board on Sunday, which always sort of makes me a little bit nervous. But part of that is he made his field goals. Carpenter missed the field goal. If Justin misses one and Carpenter makes his, the game's 10-10, we're still playing, and it doesn't feel so good about 1-0. The kicking part of the game is something that we rest pretty easy around here with Justin Tucker, that at any point the ball gets to the 30, 32-yard line, bring Justin in. We'll kick it. Oh,
totally, and he was the difference. The Ravens won by 6, and it was his 2 field goals that made the difference. And then you have to take that and look at that league-wide. How many kickers
missed extra points, right? Sure.
Failed to do what Tucker did. I mean, you go back to the Thursday night game, the Super Bowl rematch. What was it, Gano? They iced Gano. He makes it on the first try, but they call the timeout, and then he goes and hooks it wide left. That's the difference.
Well, look at the Cardinals, right?
That's the Cardinals, exactly. Last night, I mean, it's these marquee games on these teams that are playoff contenders. And it's like you said, you just don't even worry about that. It's like Tucker had a few more misses than normal last year, and that's because of the confidence John Harbaugh does have on him. He's 50, 55 yards. John Harbaugh isn't even thinking twice. let's go take Justin Tucker and get 3 points.
Yeah, I'm glad he missed the kicks during a year we weren't going to win anyway, so I'm good with that. As long as he's
Right,
making them
get
this
it out
year.
of the way.
Yeah, you got to get them done this year. Sarah Ellison is with us. You can follow her journey at BaltimoreRavens.com. She writes late for work each and every morning, although she tries not to be late for work or for meetings. I appreciate you being on time for this one. Sarah, always great having you on. We'll be following you out on Twitter at SG Ellison as well, and go BYU.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that.
I was always a Lavelle Edwards guy. What can I say? You can find me out in the Bayou Toyota Audio Vault 24 hour. I even like Ty Detmer. I liked all the Detmers, by the way. I even like Jim McMahon. I was a Cougar guy back in the early 80s because they were a little different. I like that, playing that 56-45 kind of football. I was stuck with Claiborne's Terps here. You can find me out in the Bayou Toyota Audio Vault 24 hours. There's my BYU rant. Don't get me started with Billick either. Billick will get started on the caffeine, and I'll be getting Billick BYU stories as well. We're also in the morning newspaper each and every morning. Planet Fitness at planetfitness.com, getting it done. Don't forget, Eric Weddle's going to join us next Tuesday and get swabbed for the bone marrow registry. We're going to educate him up at Adams Jeep in Aberdeen. We will have more information on that later in the week. It's all for There Goes My Hero and for our friends at the DKMS that saved my wife's life not once but twice on the bone marrow registry. We got to meet the man who saved her life. I know we talked about that last week on the radio. We're bringing him in November, and it'll be a good time. So November 12th. Save that on your calendar, as well as our Eric Weddle swabbing. We're going to have Alex Lewis, who is fluent in German, by the way, and our starting left guard here as a rookie left guard. I didn't even talk to Sarah about the rookie left side of the O-line, which was exciting as well. Last but not least, Nasty at WNST.net reaches me. Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram, as well as streaming live on Facebook, as well as streaming live on our WNSTV YouTube channel. We are WNST.net AM 1570 and WNST Taos in Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports